Board of Fire Commissioners meeting to order. We're at 848 Airport Road, Destin, Florida. We're at Station 9, August 13, 2019 at 5:30 p.m. This meeting is open to the public. First off, I'd like to turn it over to the Chief for employee recognition of 1 year off of probation.
Yes, sir.
Inspector Travis Morris.
That's exactly right. Inspector Morris, he has completed his 1 year of probation, and some of the board members we've already discussed. Travis, when he came to work for us, he actually came and applied as a firefighter, tested with us, and then we had him as an inspector. And we reached out to him and was hopeful that he would take the position. And he did. He's exceeded all expectations in that division. He's taken it and ran with it. He's done really well. Very proud of him. And he has completed his 1 year, and we'd like to welcome him to the family. Part of that is issuing him his coin, his challenge coin that welcomes him to the family. So Travis, if you would please, sir. Congratulations. Are you done?
Oh, you got that video now.
These two reminded me of, what was that one where they were in the car with the music? See, they know it, yeah, because their heads slid at the same time.
Right at the Roxy.
Well, it's like I said earlier,
Yeah, that's
Travis, year flies. It don't seem like you've been here that long, and we appreciate all the hard work.
It went by quick, I appreciate it.
And like I said, we know when you're doing your job is when people are calling us with some complaints that you are doing your job. So that's good. Keep up the good work. Thanks. We appreciate it. So at this time, I'd like to open the floor up for public comments. If anybody from the public would like to make a comment, you have the floor. Seeing none, the floor is now closed for public comment. Review of the minutes, regular meeting, July 9th, 2019.
Motion to approve, regular meeting, July 9th, 2019.
Second. I got a motion to approve and a second for the regular meeting, July 9th, 2019. Any changes, deletions, questions? Seeing none, take a vote. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Review of the financial report, July 31st, 2019. Captain.
We are 10 months through our fiscal year and be ready soon to work on closing procedures. Cash position, we'll be able to maintain it. I will be taking the second draw from the day-to-day fund at the end of this month to meet our obligations. Accounts receivable, high this time of year, to be expected. It is collections from the TDD for beach safety services. All other assets and liabilities and fund balances are adjusted as appropriate and are in line for the month. As far as the income and expenditures, two income items to mention. I did omit last week the mention of a grant we had received from PGIT. This is a training grant that we're eligible for every year from our workers' comp carrier, and as long as we meet enough training, have enough training within the department, we're eligible for that. So we've received $5,000 from Preferred Governmental Insurance Trust, and then we have received our $9,600 reimbursement grant from FEMA, the Public Assistance Grant, which helped fund, which not helped fund, but which we recovered the overtime expense for Hurricane Michael. So we've received that, and we're in the process of closing that grant at this time. As far as expenditures go, really a clean month. Two small items, repair and maintenance, Station 10 building. Had about a $5,000 charge for our plumbing out there for some plumbing issues, and we did have an unexpected capital expense for the boat lift. This is this will extend the life of the boat lift, so it will be capitalized at over $4,000. Other than that, there are no other items out of line for expenditures. We are on target to have excess revenue over expenditures for the year. I'm in the process of analyzing that to see whether we'll come to the board for maybe additional pay down of retirement fund, or we'll see what the board would like to do with that at the next meeting.
Okay.
Catherine, do we have an annual maintenance contract on the boat lift?
Good question.
Not currently. I believe there is discussion at this time for one.
Okay.
We converted it over from, to a direct drive, which is the cost, so that way it's not on the cable. We run across a lot of the issues with the belt drive and those cables, which then cause problems with the boat not being able to be lowered and those kind of things. So we're assured, when we try to come up with the best solution possible, so that when we need that boat, it will come down. Direct drive is the way to go. Just as long as it's operated properly, we won't run around problems at the bottom, but it will come down when we need that boat, it will make the water. So, which is part of those initial costs. And as Ms. Catherine said, we were discussing obtaining an annual maintenance contract on it.
I think we've taken a look at that. I've learned over the years that it actually saves me a bunch of money to do it that way.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve financial report for July 31st, 2019.
Second.
Got a motion to approve the financial report for July 31st, 2019, and a second. Any further discussion, questions? Seeing none, take a vote. All in favor? Unanimous. Old business, West End District Station, Chief. Looking forward to that update.
I don't know. It's in roughly the same position it was before, unless Commissioner Buckingham's got a more current update than I have. I think that's where we are, is waiting for the reply back from the Treasury Department. They sent the red lines to the city sent it back. Now they've got to still go through their approval for it to get back to the city for us to be able to move forward. So.
I just got off the phone with city manager for about 30, well, back and forth texting for about 45 minutes. It is on the agenda for September 3rd for the county's approval. I've reached out to a few of them over there, and they don't feel there'll be any issue with the approval. Then it goes to the Treasury, but that's about a 3-month process. So I reached out and said, look, if you can reach out and say, look, we're ready to move forward. As long as we get a commitment that it's coming, there's no reason why we can't put an RFP out to get it bid, the city, for the park. And once that is agreed upon, to say, yeah, go ahead and do it, because it's not gonna get built in 3 months. Then they can start doing negotiating the verbiage for us to move in, to lease the property. So it's getting closer. We get to September 3rd, which is next meeting, we'll have an answer by the next meeting. If they approved it, the chief and I'll have an answer, yes or no. And then from that point, then Treasury only. But Lance, the city manager, is gonna push hard, and he's gonna do whatever he can to get the Treasury to at least give us a verbal to move forward.
Because we got the section carved out. I mean, if they're not gonna do that.
Well, the only thing that the council would like to make sure that the Treasury is good with this before they, take the carve out and they commit to us. They'd like to have that in, knowing that the Treasury is good with it, which nobody feels is gonna be a problem. Everybody feels good about it. It's just timing, it's government. So, but it's looking positive. So, next meeting we'll have look good that the county's approved it and the council's good with it. So I feel good about it.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks for that, Dave. Audit committee.
Yes, sir. As we discussed last meeting, I did mention Mr. Posey, and the statute requires a minimum of 3. I reached out to, and that would include the member from our commission, so really just 2 additional people. But to ensure that we have it covered in case there's a different interpretation, I reached out to 3 members of the community and asked them if they'd like to participate. So Mr. Wilson about the 3 that I reached out to. I believe he feels good about the 3 that I have spoken to that have said that they would love to assist us. The 3 are Mr. Posey, I have spoken with Mr. Posey, matter of fact, he stopped by my office today to confirm that he's willing to be a part of the audit selection committee, as well as former council member Jim Wood and Tim Kruger, Laura Lynch. I spoke with those three, and they're all willing to assist us in selecting our next auditors. So just needs the board's approval to place them on, or to place those three, as well as Mr. Wilson as the chair, on the audit selection committee. And then at that point, Mr. Wilson can pick the day and we can start moving forward.
So moved. Three good choices.
Second.
I confirm
that.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we need just a?
All three at one time, and
Yeah.
Yeah, all three at one time, so moved.
Yep.
So do we need to vote on that, you say?
yes, sir.
Yeah,
I need a motion to vote.
All right, you got a motion, you got a second, all right. All in favor? Unanimous. All right,
Thank you,
You got your
Jeff.
audit committee.
Outstanding.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jay. Destiny's Pass Safety.
I don't know that we had a meeting in between the last meeting and this one in reference to that. I know that the city, after that meeting, has moved forward with signs, as Chairman Moore is aware, via some emails, language, and putting signs out on Noriega Point, and as well as beach access there at Osteen, in reference to the tide as it goes in and out. So I know they're moving forward with that. Joe and I have discussed the flags and putting them out there. Flagpoles, we're in discussions with the city. Both of those are city parks. All the flagpoles that are out there have been installed by the city, purchased by the city, and that kind of thing. So we would anticipate that that would be the same thing there as their parks to do that. So we're kind of working with them towards that endeavor. So that's kind of where we're at. I know that Chairman Moore had a concern over some of the discussion, I say concern, just a comment about the discussions that we had at our last meeting and whether that was moving forward or not, which is still outside of our hands, it's the city's, but whether or not they were going to put the buoys out so that it was demonstrate whether the tide is going or coming. So that way people will be able to recognize it based upon the tilt of the buoy and whether or not it's an incoming or outgoing tide and how hard it's pulling. So, and I don't know that you got to reply to that.
Yeah, and I know we talked with the city about the buoys for the no vessel into those little swim
Yeah,
areas.
exclusion buoys.
Vessel exclusion buoys.
Mhm.
I haven't seen those put up yet. And then we also even had some talk about it going over to the two parks, Taylor Park and the Dewey Destin Park. So I haven't heard anything on those, mention of those either.
Either by either one.
I just noticed, I went out the other day and there were 6 boats there, and I could not believe the amount of people, snorkelers that were in that water. It still amazes me that we don't have more, yeah, and it was outgoing tide. Luckily, I did notice 2 people, I guess from the boat, standing at the furthest part to the end of the L jetty with throw buoy. So at least that's being done, that they can at least see somebody ain't throwing a buoy. But they still not wearing any flotation devices that I can see. So,
You can carry the buoy all the way out to the Gulf.
yeah, exactly. So, I don't know, I think we just need to have some discussions with the vendors and everybody there, just to try to make it safer for everybody. Somehow for next season. I don't think we can accomplish it this year, but next year.
Yeah, season's almost over, but that'll give us the off-season to work on
Mhm.
those items.
But I'm afraid more and more people are recreating that area, if we're gonna have our hands full.
Oh, it's very congested, as you saw.
Mhm. And they were still shoveling from Emerald Grant people.
Mm-hmm.
So. All right, enough about that. All right, chief reports, street safety update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We finished juniors 2 weeks ago. We had a total, I think it was 82 participants, very successful season. Kids absolutely loved it. They had a great time this year. We were able to utilize the pool as well, something that I've always wanted to do, so I think we'll see some more local kids getting on swim team. So not just from juniors, that's kind of got its tentacles and it's spreading out, so the kids are learning how to swim, and it was awesome. Other than that, just looking at the statistics, a typical busy year, but looking at the Harbor 9, a little bit more of a clear picture. 49, of our 161 rescues have come from the jetties or Crab Island or some sort of combination from that jet ski. So yeah, very, very busy in that pass. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Well, that was a good article about your lifeguards in the paper, I saw. That's very good. Glad they're getting some recognition.
Thank you.
Especially the acknowledgement for the, what's his name?
Stetson?
Stetson, I can never remember his name. Stetson, he did a great job rescuing those people on the boat.
Oh,
I thought- Yeah, I thought that was awesome. So,
Yeah, when boats couldn't make the pass, he was able to do it on that jet ski. And when the waves were 8 foot high, as you could tell in the pictures that were taken, they were above they were above the pontoon boat. I mean, they were up there, so he did a fantastic job.
well, that's when the sheriff's boat's window got busted out
That's
as
right.
well, so it
That's right.
was bad
It
conditions.
was
So
rough.
I'm glad he recognized it, and we had the vessel out there, and were able to do the rescue. Or it could have been nasty. So, good job, Joe.
Yeah,
So
hopefully.
you teamed that too. All right, any comments? Questions? Training report? Chief?
Yes, sir, you'll see that the guys got in 26 hours for the month, which is 6 hours above what is required.
Any questions? Inspection report?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, you got my report in front of you. Couple projects that is on the forefront right now coming forward. The True Hilton, went back through a TRT again at, right there beside Walmart, Catalyst Sea Glass, behind the storage place. Will be a True Hilton there. Henderson Beach Resort, the new phase of it out the front is starting to go forward now. And then the Charles there by Big Hunas, which is 5 apartment buildings going in there.
192.
Yeah, like 192 units there. So there's a lot of construction starting to get going now, so.
Have you seen anything on this purchase up here of the old bank across from Ace? Have you seen anything come across your desk on that?
Nope.
Yeah. Okay.
I think.
That's owned by Howard.
Is it? I heard some things, but I'm not gonna say anything until I know for sure.
Real estate gossip.
That's why I don't want to spread.
I'll add one thing to Fire Marshal Taylor's report. We've been meeting with one of the local presidents of one of the condo associations. There's been a change in the code that allows, with AHJ approval, the ability for them to remove the hose out of the hose cabinets.
Really?
There is, with AHJ approval. And one of the presidents is aware of it and is asking that we work with them in order to be able to accomplish it. Matt and I are working with him to try to accomplish it, but we're setting some parameters for them to be able to remove the hose. And I can go into the detail individually if anybody's curious instead of doing it at a meeting, but we are going to set some parameters. The reason I bring it to the board is that in the event they're not happy with the solution that Fire Marshal Taylor and I come up with, their other option is to come to the board and ask for the board to approve for them to be able to do that. So I'm just kind of giving you a heads up. Hopefully we'll be able to they'll work with them.
Yeah, hose.
Are you talking about the fire hose inside the
It's in
building?
the box?
In the box?
Yeah.
No,
And why would we want to remove that?
thank you.
Just,
No, I don't see how we got him saying that. I think the insurance company.
I won't.
The code allows the AHJ to approve it. Fire Marshal Taylor spoken with the fire marshal who represents the Florida Fire Fire Marshals Association on the NFPA committee that makes those recommendations and makes the approvals and those kind of things, and spoke to him in reference to their logic behind why they were doing what they were doing, and those approvals, and provided us with what their intent was as far as how someone could do it, and the parameters that would be kind of set forth as far as the way that committee felt it could be done. So we've taken those, evaluated it. We feel confident because whatever is done will have to be approved by a engineer or a
Fire protection specialist.
there you go, fire protection specialist. So it's going to have to be, it just can't be that the homeowner present feels it needs to be removed. He's going to have it approved, the plan that's put in place, approved by an engineer. Just like the building was approved by an engineer with those cabinets in it, another engineer's going to have to come back and say, it can be approved, but these are the other things that you have to do that'll make that happen. So
Is this just one property or multiple?
he only represents one. In our district, there are 5. That,
I would
and
like to
it,
know who would want to take on that liability.
Yeah, exactly, because I'm not gonna.
That's why I say the insurance company, I don't think.
which is the reason that we require an engineer, for us to go, okay, it means it has to be an engineer-approved plan in order for that to move forward. In other words, we're not gonna approve anything that hasn't been approved by an engineer, who then takes on that liability by signing and saying that it's life safety approved.
Now, help me out, Matt. What type of building has that box with the hoses? Condos?
Condos.
May I
High
ask
rise?
a silly question?
Don't make sense.
There's a reason they want to remove them.
You're correct.
Right. And obvious, I mean, my gut tells me it'd just be very simple and very inexpensive, and insurance probably would love them, is to put a little camera right by the box and put a sign on the box that says, smile, you're on camera. Solves that problem.
Yeah, but the removal though, isn't that somebody stealing it.
No, I know what, I get it.
Oh, okay, okay.
I get that.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. It would be easy just to put a camera there and put a sign on it that says, smile, you're on camera. And all
Well,
those
it's
problems be gone.
It's the upkeep of the hoses.
Hoses.
That's right.
Upkeep of the hoses
Yeah,
either have to be tested or replaced every 5 years.
that's okay.
So that's,
And a building can be gone in how quick? Camera with a sticker.
So I just actually just wanted to make you aware, because he seems to be pretty persistent, and we're working with him to advise him on what it's gonna take for us to approve it. And then if he's not, and if that's not good enough, then our only other recommendation is for him to come before this body and ask for.
So send our guys up there. And oh, there's no hose here.
We don't use those hoses.
Yeah.
I get it.
No.
But send our guys up there. And there's no hoses?
Just save a few bucks, tell us for it, save a few bucks for the maintenance and repair. How much those hoses cost?
right offhand, I'm not sure.
All parcels. Can't be that much.
That's just like removing a fire extinguisher. I don't like it, it's in my way. And no, it's not aesthetically pleasing to me. I don't get
It's
it.
liability there.
Well, here's where the issue comes in, is that these buildings were built in 1970. They met the codes at that time. The hose cabinets were a part of that approval process. They have to maintain that approval. That means they don't have to come up to current code. Hence
Right.
the difference. Current code today, that building is built, it has a sprinkler system in it.
Right.
Okay, so what we kind of look at is they're trying to get the benefit of sliding in between. It met the code in the 70s, which had the requirement to have those hose cabinets in it. But yet they don't want to have the hoses in it, but they don't want to come up to current code, which is the sprinkler system. Which is what, when we were asked by other homeowner associations that had the same issue in the past, our answer has always been, it's fine, you can remove those as long as you put a sprinkler system in, we're okay, because then you're bringing the building up to current code.
Right.
If not, just maintain the code that the building was approved with at the time, which allows you to do that. But you can't remove part of the reason that it was approved in the 70s and not bring it up to the 2000s.
Right.
So
So,
they just have to do like everybody else does, they have to meet one or the other.
exactly,
If it's-
exactly.
If it's not broke, you don't fix it, so.
Exactly. So I just wanted to be, it was just an FYI for the board in case he does because he's pretty persistent, and he might not like what we come up with, so.
Well, I'm gonna use an example. I know Jetty East doesn't have sprinkler system, correct? You probably know that. That they don't have sprinkler system, and they, when we sell a unit there, they have to be aware that it is grandfathered in, it don't have the sprinkler system in it, okay?
Mhm.
So they have the hoses. So are you saying that now they can go in and remove those hoses without the sprinkler system?
That's what
They can't do that.
We're saying no.
Yeah, right.
The
But this guy's
code,
one
the
too.
code allows for it to be done with the AHJ approval, which is us. This board, it's Matt and I mean, it's our approval, but they'll allow them to do that. The code is, but again, there's a process for them to go through that we're setting up for them if they'd like to do that. It's not gonna be cheap, but, you know.
Okay.
So, in the event, just didn't want you to be blindsided on showing up at a meeting, or if you got called out in the community and somebody was asking you, as you represent them, and they brought it to your attention, I wanted to have you at least ahead.
I appreciate that.
Well, if it helps you in any way prior to them wanting to come to a meeting, I'm a no.
Okay,
Okay, that's real simple. I'm not gonna support that.
you got it. Thank you.
No.
I'll listen to all the facts, but,
Yeah, I can explain it in greater detail later if you'd like.
okay.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions about that? Okay. Overtime report.
Yes, we have it.
I would,
Yeah, you're not.
I feel better now.
You have it in front of you. It is up a little bit. It's up as we have two people still out on extended medical leave. We hope that they will be back in September. Both of them are out. It's just going to take a little longer for them to be able to get back to duty. So, which puts us in a position, kind of puts us down a medic, which you kind of see that. That's why several of all the people that you kind of seeing and hitting at our medics, just because that's what we're hurt with there. But we did hire a firefighter here just recently. He was a firefighter medic. Just as soon as he can get cleared, that should provide a little bit of relief. It won't resolve it, but it'll provide some relief. So.
Any questions? New business insurance renewals, Catherine?
You'll see a summary sheet before you. Guardian has come back, they're a provider of our dental and vision insurance. We asked for an approval of a renewal with them, the dental portion, which is the substantive portion of the premium. It came back at a flat renewal, and the vision is a slight decrease, so we're saving a little bit of money with that. Life insurance, group term came back at 5% increase, but again, it's really minimal charges for the district, so we're only looking at an approximate $100 increase. So we do ask for approval of those. We have a little harder time with our general liability insurance. We are limited in our market with all of the services that we provide. We provide fire services, we provide medical services, paramedic services, we provide beach services. There's only one carrier within our area which will write all these lines. They've come back with another substantial increase. I've been going back and forth for days now to determine where this is coming from. We have had we've had no claims for years. I mean, maybe a small auto, bumper claim or something like that over the last 4 or 5 years. We have had no liability claims over the last 4 years. So to see a 16% increase, I'm having a hard time with. Now, the carrier is stating that it is due to our exposure, and when they list out the exposures, they're listing it out to, it's coming out to beach safety. We're covering 2.5 million beachgoers instead of 2 million that we were a few years ago. We have 15 more employees than we used to have a year ago. That's fine, that all goes to beach safety. We can see that exposure is greater. However, they're not allocating the premium all to beach safety. They're allocating only
Across the board.
part of it.
Yeah.
So I have a problem with that, especially since we're broken down into departments. So I'm working with them. I'm also working with our agent to find out what it's going to take to piecemeal our insurance, to take it from one carrier and to price it out.
Right.
So at this time, our coverage does renew on September 1st. So I do ask for the board's approval for this. However, we are not locked into a year term. We can terminate at any time and receive a prorated amount back from our current vendor if we find alternative source. Another option possibly for us, but it won't be until the upcoming year, until another fiscal year passes, is there is another vendor in the area. It's called ESIP, and I'm sorry I cannot break down the actual, what the acronym stands for, but they are another insurer of fire departments in the area, but they don't do beach safety. Our broker has been working with them very diligently. He's got, the ESIP has taken on a new internal person who's really pushing for them to pick up that line of coverage, and so we're keeping our ear out for that, because that'll help a lot if we get some competition in the market, as we had years ago. So I am asking for approval at this time on all three lines of coverage. We will have one additional line of coverage coming up before the board at our next meeting, which will be our workers' compensation line.
Who is our agent? Is it Accenture still?
No, for general liability, we have Fuller Insurance.
Where are they at?
Santa Rosa Beach.
Being as it's beach safety related, I believe that we, if anything, we ought to approach the county or the city about upping up what they give us to try to help cover some of this, because it's not fire related.
No.
It's beach safety related.
We do allocate the beach safety portion to beach safety. They've been covering that for years. The problem is we have to rely on what allocation the insurance agent gives us. And they've given us the allocation, but it doesn't match up with what they're telling us what the exposure increases are. So that's the problem I'm having.
We ought to get beach safety from them at the reduced rate and place the other two lines other places.
They probably will not
They would
write
say
it.
no.
They're not gonna write beach safety by itself. They are a
Well,
fire
they're
insurance
not gonna write it
carrier.
for what they allocate to it, apparently, is what you're saying, right?
Correct.
I'd make them say no to that.
I think that's the same.
Yeah, I see, I get your point, yep,
Yeah.
absolutely, yes, sir. Okay, so,
I'll make a motion to approve all three of the renewals.
Second.
We got a motion to approve the insurance renewals on a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, take a vote. All in favor? Unanimous. All right, budget workshop. Catherine?
So we're actually gonna do this in reverse. We're gonna go to the very last page of the budget, which is before you. So when the district builds its budget, we have to determine that based off what kind of income do we have, so we know where our expenses can fall. So we rely on ad valorem taxes, we rely on income from other sources. And this year, we're going to begin, and I believe it's a good method, it's good to implement this strategy, is to utilize funds that are carried over from our past budget, which is the current budget that we're not utilizing, that we're not expending this year for capital expenditures. There are 4 items this year that we're not going to be able to get to for various reasons. We're under budget on them. We keep Opticom system. We have to wait for the state to finish the construction. So those items are in our current fiscal year. We've already budgeted for them. We've already found money for them, but we're not going to have the expenditure. So what I'd like to do is carry over those funds, which is $63,000 of income, which is going to come out of unassigned fund, because that's where the money's going to go to if we don't use it. It's going to go into unassigned funds. So picking up $63,000 of unassigned fund. If you go back one page, the only highlighted item there is training and per diem, and we're looking to increase this item due to having hazmat classes for all of our new hires and our expected new hires in the upcoming year. It is one of the requirements, condition of employment for our employees, so we want to make sure we include that category. On the next page back, page 26, we have 3 items. They are on the smaller size, so we need to increase on communication cell phone equipment. We have had a change in how dispatch communicates with our apparatus, so we have to change our phone devices. Right now, we're just being hit with costs, so we're gonna upgrade our phones. Insurance, this is where we have to pick up additional costs for that general liability insurance until we get further worked out with our agent. And then repair and maintenance of vehicles. We had a decrease in this item, but over the last couple of weeks, I spoke with Battalion Chief Taylor, and we have a large expense that's coming for ladder 10. It leads to a large repair and maintenance to the lift cylinder. So, but we're gonna wait until the beginning of the fiscal year. So we have the new truck coming in, so the engine is going to be the primary truck running out of that station. And then the last 2 items, if you flip back one more page, revenue, the original budget, which was presented to you, had the preliminary estimate from the property appraiser. We have now begun the trim process and have a tighter number, so we did have to reduce our ad valorem taxes by a few thousand and the associated costs that go with that, the discounts and the uncollected tax. And then the last adjustment is to retirement 175. So when we build our budget, we look at our income, we look at the personnel needs that the department has, the capital, acquisitions we have, the other costs that we don't control. And then we have an excess or we have a deficit. This year we have an excess, and what the district has proposed is to put that excess into the retirement fund. So additional 11,000 has been put in the retirement fund, which actually is going to make an additional payment to pay down the unfunded liability of the pension fund of $225,000 in the upcoming year. So it's a good chunk being applied. So that's all the adjustments that I have at this time. The only adjustments that I foresee coming at our next meeting, which will be our tentative meeting, it is our advertised budget hearing, will be adjustments to the beach safety division. They will be self-contained, but we kind of know where the county stands now. The county wants to purchase our major assets. The county wants to purchase our ATVs, UTVs, and wave runner. So we need to make sure that our budget's adjusted accordingly. It's still kind of questionable whether we're gonna have to expend for repair and maintenance. They can't answer that until they have a contract with the vendor.
Are they gonna pick up everything at the beginning of the year or just new purchases? How's it gonna work?
Just the new purchases of those 3 items. They don't want any of the other capital expenditures. They don't want the towers, they don't want the radios. All they want is those 3.
That's weird.
Is that because they can move them around, possibly, the vehicles? Take them on?
I don't believe that's what it is. Joe might have a little bit more insight into it. However, I'll say I don't believe so. When we question, actually, we proposed to them exactly what we said in our initial proposal to them in justification for our budget. We put in there a line that specifically said, if you purchase these assets for us, it could potentially put us in a deficit or behind the 8 ball with our maintenance vendor for those, because we're not buying them from them, so therefore we might not receive priority and we would just go to next in line and wouldn't move to the front of the line. And if that's the case, we might need to have an additional ATV so that we have one on standby when one goes to the shop. It's going to be there longer, so we need another piece, and future wear and tear is going to be greater. Anyway, we explained it. So we highlighted that area. When they said we're going to do this, we highlighted the area, sent it back to them. They come back to us and says, no, we're not going to increase your budget for that, because we told them we might have to adjust the budget and increase it by the cost of one of those. They said, no, we're not going to do that. But to your point of, are they going to move them around? They said, if we're not able to work out this maintenance where you can become first in line with whoever they purchased them from, then they might buy an ATV to supplement wherever it needs to go. So if SO is down one, they'll ship it over there. Or if Okaloosa Island's down one, they'll ship it over there. Where the issue's going, I believe, is going to come in is that Okaloosa Island's going to be down one, we're going to be down one, they have it, and we're going to go, okay, we need it. Now what do we do? Okay, so, but anyway, that's kind of where they are.
That's not good.
To be honest, we weren't really thrilled with them taking over the purchase of those assets. How we kind of went with it as we saw the net gain would be in our budget, we would have more money because now we're not purchasing those assets from that budget. We're able to kind of put it in and maybe put more lifeguards on the beach and a tower and that kind of thing. So we kind of relented a little. We pushed hard, but then we relented when we said, well, we'll be able to we'll have more money to do more on the beach if they're buying them out of not that money. So, and it does, we get a net gain out of it. I don't know what Joe's thought on being able to take those, let's say we need 3 this year, and we purchase those 3 to be used on our beach. I think they're gonna have a hard time getting them out of our station if they wanna rotate them somewhere else.
Yeah, well,
So,
Yeah, it's gonna be my
I think we have to discuss this a little more before we agree to it.
Yeah,
okay,
me too.
absolutely.
Because we need more information on this because, you know, that you said there's gonna be some net increase
Yes,
for
sir.
us, but, you know, is it gonna cover the aggravation of having to deal with somebody else? I mean, it's like taking more partners into this deal, and it's hard enough to run like it is without having to.
Well, the parks are a perfect example.
Yeah, I can't argue with
The
the
parks are a
board.
perfect
Yeah.
example.
Yeah,
Well, Crab Island's a good
don't
example.
feel good about us not having the capability to do our job.
Make
Yes,
our own
That's my,
decisions.
get
on
up in the
equipment.
morning, go to some countywide motor pool up in Crestview to, you know.
That's my
not
concern.
it.
I agree, I agree.
That was my main concern. Do they have ability at that time to just snatch one of our vehicles?
They would.
Because they're
They would.
purchasing
They
it.
would.
They're-
I think it would.
They own it,
They own it. It's not purchased under,
and it's registered under their name, they're gonna have
Right.
to register it. Yeah.
right.
And we tell them 2 years later that it's time we need a term, and they say, no, you keep 1 more year. Yeah. We run them that next year, and we have nothing but problems. They're broke down all the time, because they told us to keep them 1 more year. I'm gonna tell them, we need to talk this about a little bit more.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
they can't tell us how long we have to run them, and we're responsible for maintenance.
And we're
And
responsible
we're
for
trading
saving
a lot
life.
more maintenance versus, you know, salvage costs. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
I think it all stemmed when there was an issue with, when we sell it, keeping the money versus them getting the money. So I think,
But that money is applied to their budget and it's
Exactly.
been
oh, I
shown and
understand,
proven to them.
yeah. I don't think they
that-
understood.
Yeah, I think that does go into it.
If
Well,
it's that
maybe we need
simple,
to
I just
explain
give them
that.
a
I think
check.
that's where it all started,
When
to
we
be
sell
honest with
something,
you.
give them the check.
Yeah. I think that's the kind of pushback, and that is where it's all started from.
Yeah, we had a conversation.
So we need to have an in-depth
Yeah,
conversation.
you talk to them, sort it out.
And I'm not comfortable with
I
dealing
was there.
Yes,
Anybody else?
Joe and I had some conversations, and I can assure you that Joe is very passionate. And he expresses his passion. And we push back in reference to our experiences, because we've been in this for quite a while now, and we're very experienced in how far you can push an ATV before it becomes useless to us as an emergency vehicle to get us to where we need to be to save somebody's life. We have pushed it that far. We know what that is. When the market took a downturn prior to them giving us
That's
an
when
additional.
we were tested.
Exactly, so,
Yeah.
you know, and when they weren't giving us any money to cover our full budget, we were having to make cuts and all that kind of stuff. I forced Joe to run on a shoestring budget in order to be able to get it by.
And we
So
see
we
the
know
issues.
what, our point is, we expressed to them, we understand the limits of this program. And so we expressed it, so they understand. We told them what our rotation basis was, we told them this is what we're gonna have to have, this is what our experiences are, and I believe they said they understood it, and they were gonna have to rotate them when we needed them rotated. However, we don't know that that's what it's gonna be. In 2 years, when we say we need to rotate one, they do exactly what you said, say, well, you need to hold on to it for 3.
Well, we're not comparing apples to apples with the island and us. We have to put our ATVs on the road to places. We have to get in the water more often
That's right.
than they do. I mean,
They gotta cover 7 miles of beach and they cover 2.5.
yeah. So I'm just saying, there's no
Works,
comparison.
doesn't it?
So I just think.
And who is this? This is public safety
Oh, no.
with the.
Kitties.
County?
Public safety probably all right with it, I can deal with him. I have a hard time dealing with the TBC director and that particular group. It all springs back to that, I mean, it's not, it's that group, we know how that group is, they want to spend those dollars to advertise, bring more people in,
So
and
we
we're
need
just
to
kind
be
of,
talking to county commissioners about this.
yes, sir, that would be correct.
Mhm.
Okay.
So as far as the budget before you, that's the only adjustments that I foresee coming, is in the beach safety, unless the board directs otherwise.
All right. Any further discussion on the budget? All right. Next meeting is tentative budget hearing is September 10th, 2019 at 5:01 PM. Mr. Buckingham. Regular meeting will be September 10th, 2019 at 5:30 PM or soon thereafter.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir, and before you close the meeting, I'd like to introduce two of our employees. One will be coming up on his 1 year here within the next month, and we'll be covering him in November. And the other is very recent hire within the last few months. And one is firefighter Matt Prado, who, yeah, as you can see, outstanding employee, love having him here, great influence on a lot of the guys that we have here. And then the other is firefighter Joe Quinn. He's been hired within the last couple of months.
Thank you very much.
Very active, young guy. He runs a boot camp. If anybody wants a fitness boot camp, if you'd like to get in a little of that. But both these guys are extremely athletic, stay very physically fit, and do an outstanding job for us. And we love having them work here. And seeing as I was sitting in, I wanted to make sure they recognized them and knew who they were.
Well, thank you.
So,
Well, thank you, Jimmy.
Yeah,
Glad to
thank
have you on board.
Exactly. Second that. Well, anything else on the commission from the commissioners? Seeing none, meeting is closed.